mic on?
Testing. Cool. Cool is working.
Okay, you can turn your mic back.
Testing. Okay, it's cool.
Testing, testing, testing. Am I on too? Can you hear me too? Okay, I'm cool too then. We're both cool. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Very glad to see you here
Yeah.
on this beautiful Saturday morning, beautiful Shabbat morning. We have a number of things that we are going to accomplish today. Mostly importantly is worshiping together for Shabbat. We have to remember that we're still counting the Omer. We're going to remind me, because I may forget about the Omer. Remind me we have to count the Omer in the middle of the service. It's not on my cue sheet. Something else not on the cue sheet. And we are celebrating Joshua Hecker becoming a bar mitzvah, which I guess...
Hello.
This Joshua Hecker. And in case you didn't notice, he turned 13 yesterday. So today is kind of superfluous. He doesn't even have to do this today. So if you want, you could go home now. Okay? No. But he's been practicing. He's been practicing really hard for this. And many of you know this, but not everybody knows. But Joshua has been practicing with me because he lives in Longview, which is like between an hour and 14 minutes in traffic, according to this morning's report, to like almost 2 hours away. And so most of his lessons have been long distance, that we have been doing it. We tried Skype. That was not as successful as we wanted.
And then Google, and then phone
And we did
calls.
Google, and there was a problem with Google because with Google, there are these very distracting faces you could put on yourself. So one of us was like a clown or something all the time, and one of us was a dog all the time. I don't remember, but it was distracting, and so we didn't get as much Shema time in.
Plus it was lagging.
Plus what? Oh, it was lagging. It's true. And then it was lagging. It lagged a lot. So we gave up on that, and we started using telephone calls. And then David started doing the super schlep, that he'd come in many times a week. And Joshua's ready. I am a little bit in shock that he's ready, because if you'd asked me last year, could this young boy become a young man in less than a year, I would have said,
Yes.
you would have said yes? You knew this a year ago? You could do this?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so he is ready. So for those of you who are new, you can sit down again, it's okay. For those of you who are new to B'nai Zion, welcome. If you have never been to a service here or Reformed Jewish service before, some of what you're going to see here is unusual. We don't usually have big services on Saturday morning. We typically have our big services Friday night. Saturday morning we have Torah study in a little room. It's our best kept secret in Shreveport. It's my favorite time of the week. You're always welcome to that. In front of you, you have a prayer book. Your books are light gray. If you want to pretend you're reading a Hebrew book, you can use the dark gray one like me. I like to pretend I'm reading a
And
Hebrew
me.
book. Oh yeah, and Joshua's pretending too. The pages are exactly the same. That was him. I didn't giggle.
But I'm pretending.
He's pretending to read a Hebrew book, he's not going to pretend to read Hebrew. So if you turn to any page and you notice all the page numbers are in the middle of the page, because what they did with this book is they stacked up pages, they bound it on one side to make it feel like you're reading a Hebrew book and the pages turn in a Hebrew book direction. They bound it on the other side and they made it look like you're reading an English book. If you came here not knowing what to expect, the vast majority of the service is in English, or whatever passes as our version of English, right? Okay. And then when it's in Hebrew, most of the time it has a transliteration, which means it looks like English but sounds like Hebrew. You're welcome to try to fake it with us. Or immediately after the transliteration, there's a translation. So 99% of the time when you see Hebrew, there is a transliteration. And 99% of the time, and I'm making up those numbers, there is a translation. Only a few times is there no transliteration, and only a few times is there no translation. But I promise you're not saying anything bad. We are very proud of the fact that our service is the kind of service that everybody can say amen to whatever we say. All right. So welcome to our family. Normally what happens is, because the prayer book is called a siddur, which means order, normally what happens is when we finish one prayer, most of the time we don't read it in Hebrew and in English. If we read it in Hebrew, more often we'll sing it in Hebrew, and we'll go directly to whatever's next. So it's kind of easy, just keep turning pages. If we make big jumps, we'll let you know. I'll tell you some more about it later. Hopefully everybody got one of these little Chinese food carry-out things. It's not really Chinese food, but don't open it until I tell you to later. But hopefully everyone got one, because you're going to need it later. It's kind of one of our gifts to Joshua, right?
Okay, so.
What? You ready? Okay, I think Joshua's ready for us to turn to the first page.
Okay, so what page are you turning to?
What page are we turning to? We're turning to page 102. At the bottom of page 102. Eternal God, we thank you for your gift of hope, our strength in times of trouble. Beyond the injustice of our time, its cruelty and its wars, we look forward to a world at peace, when men and women deal kindly with each other, and when no one is afraid. Every bad deed delays its coming. Every good one brings it nearer. May our lives be your witness, so that future generations, the ones that come after Joshua, bless us. May the time come, as the prophet taught, when the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing on its wings. Help us to pray for it, to wait for it, and to be worthy of it. We praise you, O God, the hope of Israel. We thank you, O God, for this time of prayer, when we become conscious of your presence and place before you our desires, our hopes, and our gratitude. This consciousness, this inner certainty of your presence, is our greatest blessing. God, bless our worship this day. May the gleams of your light, the visions of your truth, which bless us here, abide with us when we go out into the world, keeping us steadfast in loyalty to you and your commandments. We are going to skip some pages. We're going to turn to page 108, and at this point, Joshua is going to help lead us in the service. You ready?
Okay.
Take a deep
I'm
breath.
ready. Yikata, vayikata, shabewaba. Bama diva hute, viagli mahute. Bahaya, hon, uvjabehon, uvahed, ho, be Israel. Ba uvisman karib, bimeru, amen.
Yeshmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam Maya Yitbarach.
Yitbarach, vayishtabach, vitbar, vigubar, vitnaseh, vithadar, vitale, vitala.
Brichu
Leila Rikupu, Hata Bashita,
Tush Bechata V'nechemata Da'amiran Be'alma.
Vimeru,
Amen.
Bahu Adonai, Hamavira.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe. Your mercy makes light to shine over the earth and all its inhabitants, and your goodness renews day by day the work of creation.
How manifold. The earth reveals your creative power. You form light and darkness, bring harmony into nature, and peace to the human heart. We praise you, O God, creator of light.
Deep is your love for us, abiding your compassion. From of old, we have put our trust in you, and you have taught us the laws of life. Be gracious now to us, that we may understand and fulfill the teachings of your word.
Enlighten our eyes in your Torah, that we may cling to your commandment. Guide our hearts to love and revere your name. We trust in you and rejoice in your saving power. In love, you have called us to your service.
Okay? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Alhuto Le'olam Va'ed. Ve'havta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושננתם לבדיך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך וקשתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
You shall love your eternal God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your being. Set these words, which I command you this day, upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be symbols before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. So shall you consecrate yourselves to your God. I am your eternal God, who who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I am your eternal God.
Eternal truth it is that you alone are God, and there is none else.
May all the world rejoice in your love and exult in your justice.
Let them beat their swords into plowshares.
Let them beat their spears into pruning hooks.
Let nation not lift up sword against nation. Let them study war no more.
You shall not hate another in your heart. You shall love your neighbor as yourself.
Let the stranger in your midst be to you as a native, for you strangers in the land of Egypt.
From the house of bondage we went forth to freedom. So let us be free to sing with joy.
O rock of Israel, rise up to Israel's help. Our Redeemer is God Most High, the Holy One of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, God Israel. We praise you, O God, Redeemer of Israel. Adonai sefatai tiftach, ufhi yagid tehillatech. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanurah, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zochei Hasteavot v'Imahot, U'mevii Gula Livnehem, Leman Shemo Be'ava, Melech Ozer U'Bashir U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah.
Eternal is your might, O God. All life is your gift. Great is your power to save. With love you sustain the living. With great compassion give life to all. You send help to the falling and healing to the sick. You bring freedom to the captive and keep faith with those who sleep in the dust. Who is like you, mighty one, author of life and death, source of salvation? We praise you, O God, the source of life.
Okay. We sanctify your name on earth, even as all things, to the ends of time and space. Proclaim your holiness, and in the words of the prophet we say,
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzivaot, Melech kol haaretz kivodo.
Source of our strength, sovereign God, how majestic is your name in all the earth.
Baruch kivod Adonai mimkomo.
You alone are our God and our Creator. You are our ruler and our helper. And in your mercy, you reveal yourself in the sight of all the living. I am your eternal God.
Yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohayich Tzion, ledor vador, hallelujah.
To all generations, we will make known your greatness. and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Baruch atah Adonai, Hail HaKadosh. We praise you, Eternal One, the Holy God.
Amen.
Yes.
ומלכותך שומרי
שומרי
שבת וקורא עונג שבת ובמלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת מקדשי ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג שבת שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג 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 שבת. Join with me at the bottom of page 118. Our God, God of our fathers and our mothers, may our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Sanctify us with your mitzvot, and let your Torah be our way of life. Satisfy us with your goodness. Gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, eternal God, let your holy Sabbath remain our heritage, that all Israel, hallowing your name, may find rest and peace. We praise you, O God, for the Sabbath and its holiness. Eternal God, establish this sanctuary, dedicated to your holy name, so that the worship offered within its walls may be worthy of your greatness and your love. May every heart which seeks your presence here find it, as did our people in the temple on Zion, that this house may be a house of prayer for all peoples. Have compassion upon all the house of Israel. Preserve us from sickness, from war, from strife. Keep us from hatred and uncharitableness toward our neighbors. Grant that dwelling in safety and walking in uprightness, we may enjoy the fruit of our labors in peace. Be with all who spend themselves for the good of humanity and bear the burdens of others, who give bread to the hungry, clothe the naked, and provide shelter for the homeless. Establish, O God, the work of their hands, and grant them an abundant harvest of the good seed they are sowing.
God, our Redeemer, hear our prayer and bless us.
Bless our children, O God, and help us so to fashion their souls by precept and example, that they may ever love the good and turn from evil, revere your teaching, and bring honor to their people. May they guard for future ages the truths revealed to our ancestors.
God, our friend, hear our prayers and bless us.
We give thanks for the freedom that is ours, And we pray for those in other lands who are persecuted and oppressed. Help them to bear their burdens and keep alive in them the love of freedom and the hope of deliverance. Uphold also the hands of our brothers and sisters in the land of Israel. Cause a new light to shine upon Zion and upon us all, that the time may come when your Torah will go forth from the house of Israel, your word from the tents of Jacob. We praise you, our God, whose presence gives life to our people Israel. We gratefully acknowledge that you are our God and the God of our people, the God of all generations. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank you and sing your praises for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. You are goodness, your mercies never end. You are compassion, your love will never fail. You have always been our hope. Praise be the eternal God, to whom our thanks are due. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la, ya la la, ya la 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 la. Sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, sim, 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 shalom, tova uveracha. Until this point, the prayers that you've been saying have been prayers that have been given to you, put in your mouth, the ones that you see in the book. Now is the opportunity that you get to have your own private moment of talk as we pray to God silently. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru, imru, amen. You can sit down. What you looking for, dude?
I was just looking at the news sheet.
You want to see the cue sheet? All right, here, take a look at this for a second. Hold that for me. We are about to turn to the inside back cover. And before we do that, in our service, we're going to do the thing that I mentioned at the beginning of the service. We're going to count the Omer. But I forgot to tell you at the beginning of the service what day we're on. So this is an unofficial quiz then. Anybody remember from last night what day we're at of the Omer? You.
39.
39. He's right again. We're at the 39th day of the Omer, which is how many weeks?
5.
And how many days?
4.
So we need to do all of that. The Torah commands us, we're supposed to start counting after Passover begins, all the way 49 days until Shavuot, one of the most awesome holidays, when we receive the Torah, when we receive the law. But it also says we have to count the weeks. So should we count just the days, or should we count the weeks? We're going to do both. The blessing for fulfilling this commandment is almost like the blessing for any other thing. And I have to warn you, before we do this, that some rabbis will tell you that you're supposed to say the blessing if you count, remember to count in the evening when the day begins. So if you didn't remember to count last night, you're allowed to count today, but some rabbis will tell you don't say the blessing if you're counting during the daytime. And some rabbis will tell you that if you skipped a day or two, then you shouldn't say the blessing at all, because in the Torah it says you have to count 49 days, and if you skip one, they think you're not counting 49. But my math was never my best subject. So if you say 39 today, I'm going to allow you to say you've been keeping up with the count all the way because you've gotten to 39 days. But you get to decide if you want to say the blessing or not.
10 more days.
What?
10 more days.
Yeah, I know, we're getting there. I hope to see you then. So we have, as he said, only 10 more days till we finish to the most awesome thing we're counting up to. So the blessing is, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. Hayom tisha u'shloshim yom shehem chamisha shavot v'arba'a yamim la'omer, which means today is the 39th day, making 5 weeks and 4 days of the Omer. We now look at the inside back cover of our books as our hearts and our prayers turn to those who are ill or recuperating. Included in our list today are Carl Bagey, Kerry Bollinger, Virginia Branch, David DeFatta, Glenn Ellis, Shirley Eltis, Jill Fixler, Tracy Gold, Val Gold, Susan Israel, Sister Mary Joan, Evelyn Kern, Jada Wynn, Vicki Marks, Justin Rukowski, Lawrence Shore, Joanne Smith, Phyllis DePongzi, Jennifer Toys, and Stephen Zelanka. If you have other names that you'd like to add to our list, I invite you to call them out now. For all these names, for the names we hold in our hearts, we read together. O God, in our hearts we name those who are facing illness and pain. We join our prayers with the prayers of all who love them. Give them renewed comfort and courage. Strengthen in them the healing powers you have put in us all. Guide the hands and hearts of those who are entrusted with their care. May the knowledge of your love and ours give added hope to them and to their dear ones. May they find even greater strength because our prayers are linked to theirs. Baruch Atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. We praise you, eternal God, the source of healing and health. And it has become our tradition to add, and especially on a day when we're observing Memorial Day weekend this weekend, we remember all those who have been called to serve. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu. May the one who blessed and protected our ancestors guard all those whom we have entrusted with the responsibility of defending our freedom and protecting us in this country, in the land of Israel, and everywhere they have been called to serve. May they return home safely, and let us say,
Amen.
Next thing we have is a Torah service. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going to happen for those of you who may not know, and most of you have not experienced a Torah service in this room with the new sanctuary. So I'm going to explain some of what will happen. First of all, Joshua's been studying really hard, as I explained, some of it long distance. And as well as he did his Hebrew, The Hebrew he read now was kind of cheating Hebrew because it had vowels and punctuation. When you read from the Torah, you're reading from a scroll that was handwritten, so the handwriting is sometimes a little bit uneven, and it has no punctuation and it has no vowels, and it's really hard to read it. He knows that the obligation for him is not that he is obligated to read Torah, but that you are obligated to hear Torah. So he knows that it's his obligation to read it in a way that you will understand it and appreciate it, which is tricky if you don't know any Hebrew. So afterwards, he'll translate it for you as well. We have a couple of traditions. We're learning a little bit about what we're going to do in our service. We will be marching the Torahs up and back in the center aisle. When we do that, you may notice that some people have a tradition of taking a prayer book. You're going to, ready? Stand up, show me how this works. So when some people, you don't have to do this, but you may see, wait, hold on. You may see people doing this where they may see the Torah come by, make their way to the outside, so you may want to give them room to do that, and they may touch the Torah. We'll pretend this is the Torah. It's a tree of life, and then kiss. If you can't reach it, then you can touch my prayer book and then kiss that prayer book. We call this kind of Torah electricity. You can pass the Torah electricity down the line and keep, and fall down. Be careful who you step on. And you can get your Torah kisses in that way. You are not obligated to kiss the Torah, but if you want to, and if you're on the outside, you either give everybody room to get out or use your Torah electricity to get there. And we do that not because we are worshiping a Torah, but we're honoring the words that are in there.
Okay, we would like to call
No, that's not your line. That's my line. Go sit down, sir. He just wants to get done, I think. So, you want to explain about this, or can I do that? So in the middle of the Torah service, you're holding these little boxes. In the middle of the Torah service, I will explain to you when you will open this. It's going to be after he finishes reading Torah. Sit down. It's going to be after he finishes reading Torah. I've never had someone as enthusiastic as he is. And of all the things that we remember to say, so, what's the worst thing that could happen? What are you nervous about? I think you pegged it. I forgot that you said this. You said you were afraid he was going to laugh the whole time. He's like having a really good time over here. These boxes have candy in them. It's not for intermission. It's not so that you have a snack, an appetizer for the luncheon. Save your appetites for the luncheon afterwards. But when I show you when to open them, which will be when he's reading his Haftarah, not during the blessings, that would be disrespectful. When he reads his Haftarah, and it's a really short one, you'll open it up, and you'll find that there's soft candy in here. You'll quietly open it up, and you'll take the soft candy, and after we say the blessing, and when I give you the cue, and the cue is going to be, I am taking the Torah away so that you're not tossing Torah's candy gently at the Torah, you will take the candy and you will toss the candy gently at this guy over here. Be gentle with him. Be gentle also because we now have a glass door back here, so please don't, we're not trying to speed demon us. And the other thing that we learned in the only other bat mitzvah that we had here so far is that if you try hard enough, and unfortunately sometimes if you don't try, some people tossed it underhanded enough so that it tried to get into those things. Please don't, because we don't know what happens when these candies come in contact with those LED lights, and we don't want to know. And I don't want to have to get up there to clean it up. So avoid that, avoid this, and gently toss the candy at Joshua, because tossing candy at Joshua is supposed to remind him that learning is sweet and that we want him to continue to learn so that we could do this when he gets married too, right? You stay down. No, I'm just kidding now. I'm picking on you. So our service continues on you can still say it down. Our service continues on page 141. You want to say it?
And we would like to call up Aunt Lori and Uncle Bing to open the ark.
So they'll be opening the ark in a second. Don't be surprised if you're not called up to have an honor. Joshua picked a few people in his family to give them honors during the service. If you weren't asked, you're off the hook. Don't get nervous. Just participate. We're on page 141. They know when to come up. Assembled at a mountain, our people, still bent from oppression, found you, found your Torah, found your truth, and embraced the destiny that has shaped worlds. Help us still to shape the world according to your will. Help us to teach and to learn, to hear your word anew, and to find in it our path to goodness and truth. When the ark is open, please rise. We continue on page 142. El harachamim hetiva v'rtzonecha et Zion tivne chomot Yerushalayim tivne chomot Yerushalayim ki v'cha levad batachnu melech el ram v'nisadon olamim. Havu godel Eloheinu utenu chavod la Torah. Let us declare the greatness of our God and give honor to the Torah. Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah. Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah. Udevar Adonai mirushalayim. Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah. Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah. Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Beit Yaakov, lechu v'nelcha b'or Adonai, O house of Jacob, come. Let us walk by the light of our God. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadlul Adonai iti, uneromam Shemo yachdav. O magnify the Eternal One with me, and together let us exalt God's name. We will march as we sing the song at the bottom of 141. Al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, ha'olam omed. Al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, ha'olam omed. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gmilut chasadim. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gmilut chasadim. Al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, ha'olam omed. Al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, ha'olam omed. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gmilut chasadim. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gmilut chasadim. Al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, al shlosha divarim, ha'olam omed. Please be seated. Thank you. And this is a good time for me to also tell you that we appreciate especially Aunt Risha, who happened to coincidentally, serendipitously, be here on a weekend when Virginia is not here. And we are thrilled to have her here. I am kind of intimidated by the fact that she has a cold, because that means that she sounds better than this most of the time, and that's kind of hard to believe. And that she can hit all those notes all the time, but we really appreciate that she's here and singing. It's really added an awful lot to our service. Now is the time that this man has been begging and eagerly getting ready to do. So we now, where's my cue sheet? Where'd you do my cue sheet? Thank you. You too cold? Everybody's cold? We're sweating our kishkas out up here. I don't know about you guys. You guys should learn to wear robes and taluses. It's a lot better. All right, we turned up the air conditioning. You should be warmer. So now this is the moment that we have been waiting for, that this guy has been working for, and I hope it's not the last time that he reads from Torah for us ever. I hope he keeps coming back and doing this, because he's really good at this. Ya'amad Yitzchak Avraham ben David bar mitzvah. this side.
Baruch Adonai Havarach.
Baruch Adonai Havarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Havarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher b'chaponu min kol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.